Fighting out of Oyster Bay, New York, ladies and gentlemen, introducing John Gotti III.
Hello and welcome back to Combat X. This is a new weekly show on Swerve Combat where every night is fight night. My name's Alan Dawson, your host. Joining me today is a pro fighter and the grandson of John Gotti, who's one of the most famous American mafioso and crime bosses in history. Ladies and gentlemen, John Gotti III. Thanks for joining the show, John. How you doing?
Pleasure, Alan. I'm doing great, thank you.
You've got a varied background in combat sports. You know, we'll start with mixed martial arts. You were a 5-1 pro MMA fighter there, winning mostly by knockout, so we know you've got hands. You've had amateur fights too, going back 10 years, it looked like. You know, what were you when you made your debut? What were you, 21? You're 31 years old now. So, yeah, how did you get into the sport? Why fight?
I was 21 years old when I made my amateur debut, and why not? You know, I always had a passion for combat sports. I was always an athlete my whole life, so I figured, if it was ever a time I'm going to do it, at that time was the time.
What was your athletic background prior to getting into mixed martial arts?
Football. I was big on football.
Yeah.
I boxed as a kid. I played baseball. I played all the sports.
Did you go to the Golden Gloves or anything like that?
No, I didn't. But I was always boxing in the gym, and I was fighting at home and stuff. So I was always active, throwing hands.
When you did and having amateur fights and even pro fights, what was the reaction of like sparring partners or opponents when they realised who you were and what your surname is?
A lot of them was excitement. A lot of them looked at it as an opportunity. All the hype because of my name. Obviously, there was a lot of hype, and we come with a lot of people, and so a lot of them looked at it like, I could take this kid shine. So a lot of my fights were actually very tough. Even the amateurs had some tough fights, and as a pro, but I'm sure they were fascinated. Like I said, and I'm sure they wanted to take some of that shine.
It kind of reminds me of, I've spoken to 𝐂𝐻𝐸 a boxer here, and he says that when he was getting into boxing, people wanted to knock him out because they wanted to say they knocked out an Ali. So
of course.
Is it quite similar to you? People wanted to maybe knock you out to say they knocked out the grandson of a mob boss.
I'm sure, I'm sure. And, at that time, I was making good strides at MMA, and I was rising up the ranks, at a pretty good pace. And even, especially as a pro, my pro career really took off. I was running through people. So when I started getting to those tougher fights, I'm sure those individuals, they were hungry, and like I said, I'm sure they looked at it as an opportunity to take some of that shine away and put it on them. Who doesn't want to do that? Anytime, especially if you're a real fighter, if an opportunity presents itself, you have to take it. So a lot of these kids are hungry. It's a lot of these kids are trying to do.
And you've had 6 pro MMA fights, 2 pro boxing bouts, and an exhibition that we'll get into. What's the status of your MMA career? Is it on pause right now, while you pursue boxing? Will you ever go back to MMA?
I'm sure at some point I will. Due to circumstance now, it's very unique. I never anticipated fighting Floyd once, never mind twice. So it's a unique situation. But if you're asking me, I think how this fight plays out is going to dictate, the course of my career. But I definitely think I'll be back in MMA at some point, even if it's just a fight.
From a striker or fighter's perspective, which combat sport do you think is more fighter friendly? Are there any differences between the two?
Yeah, major differences. It's like comparing baseball to badminton. It's not remotely similar at all. There's many disciplines that go into mixed martial arts, as you know. You wrestling, you're kickboxing, then you're boxing, then jiu-jitsu. I'm definitely relieved at the fact that I don't have to focus on one discipline. With boxing, it became a little more less stressful, a little more funner. You get to try to perfect one craft, but I love them both equally. I'm a fight fan at heart. I'm a fight fanatic, so I appreciate all combat sports.
We keep seeing this kind of trend of MMA fighters come into boxing, that they don't kind of, obviously the boxers have like 20 years usually, or 10, 15 years of background in that one martial art. But like maybe one advantage an MMA fighter could have is that strength in the clinch. Sometimes we hear it on the boxer side that they're much stronger, in that
but they don't
situation.
Let you use it. Like in the Floyd fight, I mean, right before the fight, the referee came to my locker room, and he basically insinuated, he's like, there's gonna be none of that UFC stuff, you know. So,
oh God,
they were being a little prejudiced right off the bat. I mean, last time I checked, you know, clinching's allowed in boxing, as long as it's not done for an extended period. But I didn't clinch that much in the fight. And when I did, I was actually very nice. You know, Floyd sucker punched me numerous times in the clinch when I was trying to break. So yeah, it is what it is. You can't really use it the way you want to use it. You got to understand something too. There's an art to boxing clinching. You know, boxers master the art of clinching for boxing. MMA is a totally different world. You know, you're working underhooks, you're working for takedowns. So, you know, it's an art on both ends.
I think even like with the MMA gloves, it's like you've almost got no barrier right here. Whereas when you've got 10-ounce gloves, it's like you've got such a shield just doing this, as long as you're not kind of leaving your body open. So yeah, the striking is so much, I think it's so much harder in MMA, and the MMA fighters, MMA strikers don't get the credit for being able to actually have, you know, positional awareness of their hands that you don't get in boxing, because you know you can just keep your hands like this to provide the defense.
You can't be lax for a second with your defense in MMA, you know, because the gloves are so small. You know, there's ways around the gloves. In boxing, you could kind of catch the punches a little bit with the gloves. In MMA, those gloves will get around, they'll hit you in the back of the ear, or so, you know, you have to be on your game 24/7.
What's your take on the exhibition circuit? Because, like, you know, you boxed Floyd last June. You're going to box him again at the end of this month in Mexico. We've seen, you know, there's a promotional outfit called Misfits. Jake Paul has done a riff on it. Pacquiao recently had one. Mike Tyson's going to come back. Do you think there's too much of it? You know, do you think it's kind of adding to the sport of boxing? Where do you stand when it comes to the exhibition circuit in general?
I think there's a market for everything, you know. As far as I go as a fighter, I don't really care for it, you know. I'm a pro fighter. I don't fight exhibitions. I'm fighting exhibition here because it's against Floyd Mayweather, you know. It's an opportunity to fight a living legend in boxing. But if you ask me to fight an exhibition against Joe Smo, I would tell you no. You know, it has to be a pro fight. I'm a pro fighter. I'm not an exhibition fighter. So that's my perspective of it. But as far as other individuals go, I mean, there's a market for it, you know, and it's entertaining. So, you know, I don't have a problem with it in that regard.
I think out of everyone, it's like Jake Paul kind of does it probably the better. And he's, like you say, he's parlayed that into a kind of pro career.
He does pro fights, though. His fights are all pro.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
you got to give him credit there.
Would you have a fight with Jake Paul? Is he too big, or like if you're going to keep, you know, it seems like that could be one. Maybe Conor McGregor.
Yeah, I'm a pretty big kid myself. You know, I bulk up as much as 205, 206. You know, 5'11 and a half. So I'm pretty big. You know, but a fight like that, you'd have to meet in the middle somewhere as far as weight goes. Have to be around like a 190-ish or 185. You know, because he's a heavyweight at this point. He's about 230 pounds.
I sometimes say I'm 5'11 and a half, but I'm not. I'm probably 5'10 and a half, 5'11. So are you quite close to 6 foot, but you're not close enough to say 6?
I'm about 6 foot. I'm close.
Yeah. And you know, what was it like being in the ring with Floyd? Before the chaos right at the end, what were your kind of takeaways from what he was doing? I know previously in interviews you've said how much of a fan you were of Floyd. You know, when I was in England, I was always staying up till 5 in the morning just to kind of watch him fight. You know, moved over to Las Vegas. I've been in his gym, you know, quite a few times. I've seen it as like a bit of a mecca for a boxing nut. You know, what was it like for you for 5-6 rounds just being in the ring with that guy?
Yeah, it was surreal. You know, it was surreal because I looked up to the guy my whole life as a fighter. So you don't know how to prepare for a moment like that, you know, until you get in there. So I was caught off guard a little bit with the fight, and but now I know what to expect, you know. And now he's an opponent. He's not Floyd anymore. He's just another face. I don't care. No, I don't care about the guy one bit. And I'm going to treat him as an opponent. So you'll see the difference in my mentality this fight as opposed to the first fight. But as far as his attributes, I mean, you could definitely tell what made him so great. You know, he's 46, 47 years old. He still moves like Floyd. He has that shotgun jab, those quick reflexes, the IQ. You know, it'll never go on him. He's still him. So you have to prepare and you have to train for that type of fighter. You know, he's an exceptional fighter, and I had a little over a year now to prepare for this fight. It played in our favor, you know, because it gave me a year to mature, to grow, and he's a year older. So, and now I know what to expect. You know, I'm not going to be caught off guard this fight. I'm going to show my true self.
Do you think there'll be more kind of shenanigans in the locker room with the referee saying you can't do this, you can't do that, none of that UFC stuff? Are you expecting Kenny Bayless to be the ref again?
Yeah, we're gonna have that sorted out. You know, it's gonna be a mutual ref. We'll have that all figured out when we're in Mexico. I know he tried to get his own ref again, but that's not gonna happen. But listen, we're gonna have a clean fight this time. There's gonna be no, bullshit. What happened last time? I'll keep my composure. You know, I matured a lot as well mentally. He can say what he wants to say in there, do what he wants to do. I'm gonna fight my fight. I'm gonna bring it to him. So we'll see what he's about this time.
What was the cause of the end of the last fight? Was it can't just be the trash talking? Was that the real
up? You know, it was a build up.
Yeah.
Emotions are running high when you're in a fight.
I'm gonna keep busting this bitch up.
And from my perspective of it, I grew up my whole life, like I said, idolizing this individual. You know, I used to cheer for him my whole life. So now you're in front of him and he's trying to knock you out and he's taunting you and he's cursing at you. I took it to heart. You know, to him, I'm just a random person, but to me, he's been such a key part of my life in certain aspects. So I'm one of those people where, I wear my emotions on my sleeve, especially if I'm invested in something, and I was invested in him a big chunk of my life as a fighter. So things were just building, and Kenny Bayless, I believe he did a horrible job of managing the fight. The first half of the fight, when Floyd was taunting me and cursing, it was okay. The minute I started doing it back, it became a problem. And that's when the fight started getting out of control. So I believe it's no knock on Kenny Bayless. He's a Hall of Famer. I just think he did a poor job of managing the fight.
Have you spoken or been near Floyd since the brawl?
Yeah, we had a press conference in New York last week.
And how did he kind of react to seeing you for the since that?
There was no communication, amongst each other, but his energy was he's ready to fight.
Yeah.
He has his balls twisted again. So do I. And the good thing is we get to fight again.
Did you see any of the social media fallout? Because it was such like a viral moment, seeing so much chaos in the ring. I saw some comments saying it was one of the most ghetto things to happen to the sport when you've got, kind of the Mayweather family and then the Gottis all kind of, causing this carnage.
Yeah, I've seen it all. I mean, listen, opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one. You know what I'm saying? I read them and I laugh at all the comments. That's what I do. But, it was a bad night. Nobody wanted that to happen. Nobody anticipated that to happen. It was supposed to be, like I said, Rocky, an exhibition.
Yeah.
You don't think nothing prepares you for that type of thing to go off like that. People could have got really hurt. I'm thankful nobody did get hurt. It happened. Would I change how I attacked him after the fight? No. So I'm just glad nobody got hurt. But as far as my actions, I did what I did. I went off my instinct, and my instinct told me to go after.
The profile that you've grown since even the first exhibition, is going to grow even more after this one. And from what you were saying earlier, it's like you're probably going to want to parlay that into the pro game, right? Is that kind of what your goals are towards the end of the year? Seek a pro fight, whether it's boxing or MMA, and just whichever kind of opportunity is the best one at the time.
Yeah, whatever my team wants. I'm just focused on this fight. This is the biggest fight of my whole career, of my life. Like I said, it's very personal in the ring with me and Floyd. So this has to be settled amongst me and him. And then, whatever happens after that, we'll go from there. I'm open to anything. I train year round. I'm always in shape. So if an opportunity comes, we'll take it.
And we're at the part of the show now. I'm just going to reel off like a few words or phrases, and just whatever comes into your mind, you just spit it back and we'll kind of riff off there. So where's the best place in New York to get a slice?
Lucali.
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah. So I've heard good things about Lucali. I actually think pizza might be a little bit overrated, but I live in the Southwest, so pizza's probably not.
You got to try the top places, not these little.
Yeah.
You got to know the top places. I'm telling you.
What's your go-to? Do you get the kind of margarita? You have
pepperoni?
Yeah,
standard margarita.
Yeah.
Keep it basic.
I've lived in Europe and here in Vegas now, so I kind of see a difference between Italian food in America and Italian food in Italy. Yeah. Which do you think's better?
Well, I've never been to Italy before, but if I could guess, I would think Italy. I think maybe the ingredients are more fresh. and they get, you know, all the quality olive oils and whatnot straight from the homeland. You know, I think a lot of stuff here is imported and it's not, you know, it's not from the homeland. So I would guess Italy.
I'd say it's richer here. I quite like that though. I quite like
it here better. You prefer it over here?
Yeah. I think it's more fewer ingredients.
I need to refresh my memory.
Food.
I've been eating so clean the last several months. I haven't had any Italian food or nothing. So after the fight, I'll let you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of my favorites in America. I love the Italian food here. What's the best curse word you know in Italian?
Fangu. Fangu.
What's that?
What
does that mean? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to add that to my everyday lexicon. What do you think of when you hear the word Gambino?
John Gotti.
And I've lived in Vegas 3 years, and I've heard a few times from locals how Vegas was better when the mob ran the city. Have you ever heard that?
Oh yeah, of course. You hear it over here locally, the neighborhoods. The neighborhoods, from what I understood, way before my time. It was just a different world, a different lifestyle. You know, the camaraderie amongst your neighbors or your friends. It was just different. You know, they kept the neighborhood safe. They patrolled the neighborhoods, and everybody looked out for one another. And that's something I think everything is lost today. You know, nobody has those values today. You know, everything is on social media and whatnot.
I'm sure the reason in Vegas is because the prices now, even for a beer, is like $12.
Yeah.
And you're paying all the taxes on top. So I think from a local's point of view, the prices, it's now the corporations are just coming in and raising the prices. What's your most vivid childhood memory?
My most vivid childhood memory. That's a good question. I would say probably when I was playing football. You know, that was my first love, and those were some great years. There's too many to recall, but I think playing football, you know, because as now you're older, you don't get the chance to do those things anymore. You reflect back, you know, the time you used to. So probably that.
Have you got a favorite gangster film?
I don't really watch a lot, believe it or not. I don't watch a lot of the gangster movies, but probably Godfather II.
I've got one, but I'm not sure if it's a gangster film. Maybe you're like, it's a Bronx Tale, but I kind of see that as
a good movie.
Yeah, I see that as a paternal tug of war between this kid kind of, he's got his interest in his dad, and then he's kind of getting infatuated with the mob guy next door. But yeah, I love that film. I'm not sure if it's a total gangster film though, because I think it's more like a family kind of,
put in that category.
Yeah. If I was going to say the word masculinity to you, what do you think? What do you think of? Like, what do you think it is to be a man?
Be a gentleman. Conduct yourself always like a man. Things I think we're missing in today's society. The opposite of what you see today.
Yeah, this is kind of bringing it back to your grandfather, because I think he was one of the people to revolutionize the way you look the part, right? He kind of dressed, his name was the Dapper Don. This is kind of, I think you should look the part, gentlemen. I like it. And finally, what comes to your mind when you hear August 24th in Mexico?
War.
All right, that's great. It's a great place to end it with. That was Combat X with John Gotti III. He's taken part in an exhibition with Money Mayweather later this month, August 24th. Check it out. And come back again for our Combat X on Swerve Combat. Every night is fight night. This is Alan Dawson and John Gotti III. Thank you for watching.
Thank you, Alan.